Before the palace walls started cracking, before royal titles became weapons, before Prince Harry walked away from his own bloodline, there was another man standing in the shadows watching it all happen first. And now, the man Meghan Markle left behind may finally be ready to expose what really happened behind closed doors. The world knows Prince Harry's version. The world knows Meghan's version. But what about the man who lived through Meghan Markle before the crowns, before the Netflix cameras, before Montecito became a royal battlefield? Trevor Engelson has stayed quiet for years, almost too quiet. And whenever someone stays silent that long while the entire world screams around them, people start asking dangerous questions. What does he know? What did he see? And why are insiders suddenly whispering that Meghan is terrified he may finally speak? This is where the story becomes explosive because Trevor Engelson was not some random ex-boyfriend lost in history. He was Meghan Markle's husband, the man who loved her before the royal obsession began, the man who watched her transform from an aspiring actress into a woman chasing bigger rooms, richer circles, and global fame. And according to people who knew them both, Trevor didn't just lose a wife. He lost the version of Meghan he thought was real. Trevor Engelson grew up in New York, built a respectable Hollywood career, and earned connections powerful enough to survive in one of the most ruthless industries on earth. This was not a weak man, not naive, not desperate. Hollywood producers see manipulation every day. They survive on instincts. And yet even Trevor allegedly never saw what was coming. That detail alone is what makes this story feel unsettling. When Meghan and Trevor married in Jamaica in 2011, friends described it as joyful, romantic, almost cinematic, beach dancing, smiles, endless affection, the kind of wedding people point to as proof that love still exists. But now, looking back, that wedding feels less like a beginning and more like the opening scene of a disaster nobody noticed yet. Because while Trevor was building a marriage, Meghan was quietly building something else entirely, a future that no longer included him. That is where the cracks allegedly started. Meghan's role on Suits changed everything. Toronto became her new world. Celebrity circles replaced old friendships. Powerful social connections started appearing around her. And according to multiple reports discussed by royal commentators, Meghan began drifting emotionally long before the marriage officially collapsed. The distance was no longer just geography. It was ambition. One person moving toward Hollywood power circles while the other still believed they were building a normal married life together. What makes this story darker is the pattern people claim they noticed afterward. Meghan allegedly became increasingly polished, calculated, and socially strategic, while Trevor remained the relaxed Hollywood guy she once loved. Suddenly, insiders were describing two completely different personalities walking in opposite directions, one trying to preserve a relationship, the other already mentally exiting it. And when the marriage finally ended, the way it happened shocked even people close to Meghan herself. That single detail refuses to die because it sounds almost unreal. Royal biographer Andrew Martin reportedly claimed Meghan mailed Trevor her wedding and engagement rings instead of ending the marriage face-to-face. No dramatic final conversation. No emotional closure. Just a package arriving like the marriage itself had become another item to return. Imagine opening that box. Imagine realizing your entire life had been reduced to jewelry mailed back through a delivery service. People close to Trevor claimed he was devastated, completely blindsided. And the most brutal part? Meghan reportedly moved forward with terrifying speed afterward. Ninaki Priddy, Meghan's former best friend and maid of honor, allegedly described Trevor as deeply hurt and blindsided by the split. That statement matters because it did not come from anonymous palace gossip. It came from someone who stood beside Meghan during the happiest moments of that marriage, someone who watched the relationship up close before the public fairy tale collapsed. And suddenly, people began noticing something uncomfortable. The same emotional pattern Trevor allegedly experienced started appearing again years later around Prince Harry. Old friends disappearing, family relationships collapsing, entire worlds being cut off. Harry went from royal insider to isolated exile, living thousands of miles away from the institution he once defended. Coincidence? Maybe. But the similarities became impossible for royal watchers to ignore. Then came Trevor's revenge move, and this is where Hollywood entered the war. Instead of giving angry interviews or launching public attacks, Trevor reportedly developed a television comedy inspired by the surreal idea of sharing custody of a child with the British royal family after an ex-wife marries a prince. Read that again carefully. Trevor turned his heartbreak into a television pitch while Meghan and Harry's romance dominated headlines worldwide. That is not random timing. That feels intentional, strategic, almost like a message hidden in plain sight. Hollywood insiders instantly understood the subtext, even though the show officially denied directly portraying Meghan and Trevor. Nobody believed that coincidence. The entire concept mirrored Trevor's real-life humiliation too perfectly. The abandoned husband watching his former partner become global royalty while the world forgets he ever existed. The show never fully made it to television, but honestly, maybe it never needed to. The pitch itself already said everything Trevor could not publicly say out loud. And then came one of the creepiest details in this entire saga. Bethany Frankel claimed she once met Trevor Engelson at Soho House in Chicago before Meghan officially became Harry's wife. During their conversation, Trevor casually acknowledged Meghan was his ex. Months later, after Harry and Meghan's romance exploded publicly, Bethany reportedly texted Trevor asking if Meghan would close the deal with Harry. Trevor's answer was cold, calm, and almost haunting. She'll close, not maybe, not probably, absolute certainty. That response changed everything because it suggested Trevor understood Meghan's ambitions better than anyone else alive. He sounded less like an angry ex-husband and more like a man who already knew exactly how the story would end. That is what unsettles people. Trevor did not sound shocked by Meghan becoming royal. He sounded like he expected it all along. The deeper this story goes, the more it stops looking like random celebrity drama and starts feeling like a pattern repeating itself in front of the entire world. Because when people close to Meghan Markle describe what happened to Trevor Engelson years ago, the language sounds disturbingly familiar to what royal insiders now whisper about Prince Harry. Isolation, distance, reinvention, entire chapters of life erased almost overnight. And suddenly, the public is asking a dangerous question nobody inside royal circles wants to say too loudly. Was Trevor simply the first warning sign? Prince Harry once looked inseparable from the royal family. The rebellious prince, yes, but still deeply connected to his brother, his military identity, his country, and the institution that shaped his entire existence. Then Meghan entered the picture, and everything accelerated at frightening speed. Family tensions exploded publicly. Royal traditions became toxic. Relationships Harry had maintained for decades suddenly collapsed. By 2020, Harry had stepped away from royal duties completely, relocated to California, and launched an entirely new life centered around Meghan's vision for their future. That alone would already be dramatic enough. But critics claim the similarities between Harry and Trevor's situations are impossible to ignore. Both men reportedly adored Meghan. Both sacrificed stability to support her ambitions. Both allegedly watched old parts of their lives disappear while Meghan built entirely new worlds around herself. And once that comparison entered public conversation, it refused to leave. What truly intensified the paranoia were reports about Meghan's workplace behavior and growing tensions inside the Sussex operation. Some employees allegedly described Meghan as warm and charming in public yet cold and withholding behind closed doors. Others reportedly needed therapy or long breaks after working within the Sussex environment. Whether fully accurate or not, these reports fed an increasingly damaging narrative that Meghan Markle transforms environments around her until everything revolves entirely around her goals, her image, and her direction. And where does that leave Harry? That question keeps hanging over everything like smoke no one can clear away. Because the more Meghan's solo public profile rises, the more observers claim Harry appears strangely sidelined. At one point, he was the global headline, the prince who shocked the monarchy. Now many feel he looks like a supporting character orbiting Meghan's expanding media empire. The interviews, the projects, the branding, the image management. Meghan increasingly appears at the center while Harry sometimes looks exhausted, disconnected, almost uncertain about where his role even fits anymore. Then another chilling rumor surfaced. Reports allegedly claimed Meghan's team explored ideas for a future post-divorce book about life after Prince Harry, while they are still married. Think about how insane that sounds. A hypothetical future narrative being considered before the current chapter has even ended. True or not, the rumor exploded online because it fit perfectly into the fear people already had after Trevor's story resurfaced. And suddenly, Trevor Engelson's past no longer looked like ancient gossip. It looked like a blueprint. That is why the potential memoir terrifies so many people around the Sussex narrative. Trevor does not need to attack Meghan directly. He doesn't need dramatic accusations. He only needs to calmly describe patterns, behaviors, conversations, ambitions, emotional shifts, and the public will connect the dots themselves. That is what makes former partners dangerous when they finally speak, not because they scream, but because they remember details. Imagine the kind of stories Trevor could tell if he truly decided to open every locked door. Stories about Meghan before the royal training, before media coaching, before billion-dollar branding, before carefully constructed documentaries designed to control the narrative. Trevor knew the version of Meghan the world never met publicly. The struggling actress, the ambitious networker, the woman building her future long before Buckingham Palace entered the picture. And that possibility instability reportedly has Meghan extremely nervous because timing matters. Public sympathy toward Harry and Meghan has shifted dramatically in recent years. The Oprah interview once shocked the world. The Netflix series dominated headlines. Harry's memoir generated outrage and fascination simultaneously. But now, fatigue is setting in. Cracks are showing. Public opinion feels less certain, which means Trevor speaking now could hit much harder than it would have years ago. What if Trevor confirms the emotional patterns critics already suspect? What if he describes Meghan as someone constantly reinventing herself while discarding previous worlds once they no longer serve her future? That single idea alone would ignite absolute chaos online because people would instantly compare it to Harry's current situation. And perhaps that is the darkest part of this entire story. Trevor reportedly no longer hates Meghan. That emotional fury seems gone. He rebuilt himself, married Tracy Curlin, became a father, built a quieter, wealthier, more stable life away from cameras and royal warfare. Friends say he is thriving now, happy, free, which means if he ever tells his story, it may not sound emotional at all. It may sound calm, controlled, reflective, and calm truth is often far more devastating than angry revenge. Meanwhile, Harry remains trapped in the middle of global scrutiny. Every public appearance analyzed, every facial expression dissected, every solo trip fueling separation rumors. And every time Meghan appears independently, the speculation grows louder. Is Harry still the partner? Or has he become another chapter in a constantly evolving personal empire? That is the uncomfortable parallel Trevor Engelson's story keeps forcing people to confront. Trevor once believed he was Meghan's forever future too. He reportedly worshipped her, defended her, supported her career, and imagined growing old beside her. Then one day, the rings arrived in the mail, and the chapter ended with brutal efficiency. The royal family once believed Harry would always remain inside the monarchy as well. Then came the Oprah interview, the accusations, the departure, and the complete restructuring of Harry's identity. Another world erased, another bridge burned, another new chapter built from the ashes of the old one. And now the terrifying question sits there waiting. If Meghan eventually decides she has outgrown this chapter too, what happens to Harry? Nobody knows. Maybe nothing. Maybe the marriage survives forever and all of this speculation collapses into gossip dust. But Trevor Engelson's story lingers because it feels like a warning hidden in plain sight, not spoken loudly, not delivered dramatically, just sitting there quietly in history waiting for people to notice the similarities. That is why publishers reportedly continue chasing Trevor, because he represents the one perspective the public has never truly heard. The man before the prince, the husband before the palace, the person who allegedly experienced Meghan Markle before the entire world became obsessed with her. And if he ever decides to speak fully, the consequences could ripple through Hollywood, Montecito, and royal history all at once.